This is Private Matters. I'm Max van Praag. This show is about bringing awareness to creating healthy relationships around the world with a special focus on intimacy, sexuality, and full self expression for men and women. My guest on this Skype interview is Destin Gerek, the Erotic Rockstar. Welcome, Destin.
Hi, Max. Thank you for having me.
Destin, we're talking with you today about erotic empowerment for men. Would you say that that's like the majority of your mission is concentrated on men?
No, I
No?
wouldn't say that. I'd say that it's gotten a lot of my attention recently, but my mission, my purpose, as I define it in this world, is to help elevate global sexual consciousness, and that includes both men and women, as well as people who identify otherwise. Um, it's a consciousness. Now, I think that there are aspects of male sexuality and the male experience that are not being properly addressed. And I'm really seeking to be a voice for that and even be an embodiment for that which I'd like to see more of in this world.
Could you give an example?
um, sure. I'm just going to share a little story. This all started for me at the beginning of 2007, so almost 6 years ago now. Wow, time flies. uh, when prior to that, I felt very disconnected from my masculinity, and I didn't really have a clear sense as to what it meant to me to be a man in this world.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, I grew up in an era where, well, in which I think many of my uh, fellow men, brothers, have experienced a sense of possible disconnect from their own fathers, from broken homes, um, fathers who left early or weren't there at all, or maybe even in jail. Um, and different boys growing into men deal with that in different ways. When I looked around at the world around me, trying to find like modern men that I really wanted to emulate, I didn't really like what I saw, um, and a lot of the messages that I got as to what it meant to be a man, I I just I didn't identify with. I think a lot of what society holds up around what masculinity is what I now see as the unhealthy masculine. And I didn't have that languaging at the time. All I knew it as was the masculine or being a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, no, if that's what being a man is, I'm not interested. But in that
And
process,
are you referring to macho or dominant behavior or to traditionally dominant?
uh, I have a relationship with the word dominance these days. Domineering, I'd say more.
Yes, 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 yes.
Domineering behavior, what you just refer to as macho, what I'd look as a macho facade, what I now look at as being more a put-on show that often hides an inner insecurity. Again, I didn't have this perspective as a boy, as a teenager, as a young man. Um, I just felt this isn't what I want, and but in that process, I I, I feel I feminized a lot. I gravitated towards women in my life, both as lovers, as friends, as roommates, and this just further had me disconnect. By the time, well, 6 years ago, I guess it was by the time I was in my late 20s, though, uh, it had hit a it had hit a breaking point where it was very clear to me something was very off balance inside of me, and for me to really live into what I felt I was supposed to be doing in this world, something needed to radically shift. So made I set an intention at the beginning of 2007, a New Year's resolution, however you want to look at it, that's going to focus that year on actively exploring my masculinity and what it means to me to be a man in this world. How incredibly powerful I was going to turn out to be. It was it was during this process that I crafted this archetype that I ended up dubbing the erotic rockstar. My former fiance actually coined the term. I don't think she had any idea I was going to run with it quite as much as I did, though. And the thing
Oh, so
about
it was her idea.
well, it's her phrasing
Okay. Okay.
that
Yes.
would get and when I started to the thing about archetypes is it's a mask, a persona, a figment of my imagination, and therefore on this archetype, on this character, I can put anything on him. He could be anything because I made him up. Versus for me, well, I had all my ideas as to who I am and who I am, what I am capable of, who I'm not, and what's just not me. You know, I think most of us have these self-limiting, but he didn't have any of that. He could be anything. So I started to really play with, well, who is he? Who is my ideal embodied sexual man? A man who's deeply connected to his sexuality, but that's part of him. Uh, he's not running it, but it is a strong part of who he is. But he's also a deeply loving man, heart-centered man, a man who really has the utmost love, respect, admiration, reverence, awe of woman, and a man who has a deep sense of spirituality. As I started to explore what this archetype, what my ideal of a man would be in 21st century, started to get clear that yes, this is a man who was deeply connected to his sexuality, who didn't hide his sexuality or repress it behind a nice guy facade, nor did he approach the world and women from this macho facade of I need to prove something to someone, and bang the hottest chicks in order to feel good about myself and try to fill some hole, but really a true solid free flow of his sexual energy that's neither put on nor repressed. A man who is deeply connected to his heart, who knows how to love as well as how to receive love, to feel it, who knows something about intimacy. A man who has true love, honor, respect, awe of woman. And a man who's deeply connected to his sense of spirituality, the universe, God, source. And a man who has all of these and so much more really integrated. And so I really started to play this out more and more. I mean, I became obsessed with this. Journaling about it extensively, going to sleep thinking about it, dreaming about it, waking up thinking about it. In the shower, I'd be thinking about it. I'd have conversations with everybody in my life about it until I got crystal clear as to who he was.
So you're kind of becoming this archetype. You are embodying this archetype, which is not like most people are, because most people are complex and have all kind of quirks and kinks and
Oh, don't you worry. I've got my quirks and I've got my kinks.
Okay.
However, these attributes that I'm speaking of became primary for me. Once I gained this clarity, I mean, at first he seemed so pie in the sky. It's like, okay, great, wonderful, this is my ideal, and this is who I really am, which is not that. But I really started to get clear how malleable who I really am is. That as my own spiritual path developed more and more, I just got clearer and clearer about how my true essence isn't all these ideas I had about who I really am, all these ways in which I've been socialized, all my fears, insecurities, and self limitations. That's not who I really am. Who I really am is a limitless source of infinite possibility. And so, if I'm really gonna take that on, well then I can take on any attribute that I choose to. I can become any expression that I choose, that I can consciously create who I am in the world
Yes.
and reinvent myself.
Yes.
And so it started as let me dip my toes, find my little places where I can feel safe enough to do so, until more and more he just became my primary identification. And it proved to be so incredibly powerful that I was like, how do I how do I teach this? How do I transmit this to other people? And it's now the foundation of the work that I do.
What's the expression? Energy flows where attention goes. Right? Yes.
So it is,
Yeah.
yes.
And this is what you're teaching people.
Yeah.
That they can be who they are in their sexuality.
Yeah. And I mean, really, my work very much started rooted in sexuality. I've been doing some form of work and teaching and training in my own education around sexuality for 16 years since I was a freshman in college. However, at this point, I see it as like as the starting point, as the root point. However, it's very much a whole life transformational process, a whole life empowerment. People's lives in every area, uh, in every area of their life,
Sure.
changes through this process.
Sure. So, a question that I have for you is, and I know how busy you are because it has been very hard for us to actually schedule this interview. And so, here's where my curiosity goes. What does a typical day in the life of Destin Gerek look like?
Visiting me from North Carolina right now for 3 weeks. She's now with me for almost 2 weeks, and she was just saying the other day, she's like, every day is completely different from the day before. So it's a little bit hard for me to give a typical day other than to say that typically it's unlike any other. Uh, Um, I work with a very small number of private one-on-one clients now. I've worked with a lot of different models as I've developed my career. Right now, with my one-on-one work, it's very few who are working at a very high level. We go very deep, and I get paid very well. Um, and that's right now the bulk of my income. The other parts of what's going on is I'm developing a production company,
Yes. Yes.
Rockstar Productions, that is designed to create a new genre that I dub conscious erotic media. In many ways, it's my artistic, creative response to the ubiquity of the porn industry today. That all of this total mind, body, spirits, sexual connection, where are the media depictions of that?
This is why you originally moved to LA, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's been a it's been a very challenging journey for me. Deci- Deciding one day, I'm going to start a production company and become an executive producer and create super high level erotic entertainment. It's not a little goal. And again, it was one of those things of I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to make this happen. I just know that somehow I'm going to make it happen. And this is part of what I coach people around as well. You don't need to know setting out how you're going to get there. This is what true meaning of faith really comes down to, is making that clear decision that no matter what, I am committed. This is the outcome that I am getting. And so yes, I have fallen down on this journey more times than anything else I have ever done before, and I just keep picking myself back up. dusting myself off, learning from it, and getting going again. What I have created, I'm very proud of, and it's nothing compared to what's still coming.
So now you have us all turned on. Do we get to see a little clip of this? Uh, one of your.
Yes, you can see a small clip of this. Whether you can bring that in here or
I will bring it in here.
wonderful. I have something else that was just in an international erotic film festival that took place in Jamaica in September, the Eroticos Film Festival. And unfortunately, I don't have that video public at this time. I've run into some complications. So while that which I've created, which I'm most proud of, it's not being seen by the public at this time. So I have something else out that's still gorgeous. That you'll be able to that you'll be able to show your audience. Those listening, I'd love your feedback. If you like it and enjoy it, please connect with me through my email list at eroticrockstar.com or through website or through Facebook. And know that I have a lot more coming in this department. I think it's very important for us to have these media depictions of this type of mind, body, spirit, sexual connection, these different models of sexual empowerment and expression for us to figure out how to get there. That yes, we can have all these how-to books, videos, talks, seminars, and they're great. I've learned a lot through them. Uh, However, I also believe that when we have these types of models just regularly accessible, that many people are just going to find their own way there.
Sure.
They're going to find their way that's just outside of my model.
Sure. Now, back to you. You were going to create this production company a few years ago, and the purpose that actually came to find you was the purpose to teach, correct?
Yeah.
So do you think this is actually going to change? That one day you will not be teaching and coaching, but you will just be producing?
Oh, it's both.
It's both.
You know, I have both developing very rapidly. It's one of my big challenges that I am figuring out. We'll say is finding that right balance of how do these two businesses lift one another up. That, as I see it, the erotic media um, has the potential to have a wide more easily, so it draws eyeballs. And yes, there will be those who just find their way there, and there will be others who are like, I I've never seen that before, but I want that. I want that. Wonderful. Well, that's what this whole other end of what I'm developing business wise does. It helps provide here's the teaching, the education, the how to get there.
With regards to your clients, your coaching clients, do you you said you get paid very well, so I imagine the clients you have are high profile people.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they artists? Are they movie stars? Are they bankers? Are they corporate, or is it all of the above? Are there more women, more men?
It's very interesting. At present, according to Facebook statistics, almost two-thirds of my audience is women, and over 80% of my income is from men.
Okay.
Fascinating.
And,
I
and,
think
and and the men that are paying are in any industry.
no, I mean, first of all, like you said, they're they're generally very well off. The ones that I work with have been self-made millionaires and above. Whether they have created a business or empire from scratch and sold it for $100 million, or those who I've worked with who have built some form of celebrity for themselves. Those I have to be particularly tight-lipped about. I really like working with these individuals because they're those who have already discovered that power within, that limitless potential in these certain areas of their life. And they have taken it really far. How they're living is inspiring to me. That's one of the requirements that I have for those who I work with, is that who they are, I find inspiring. Uh, but yet, though they have all of this, something is missing.
Yes.
You know,
They're immature. They're still in their little boy when it comes to women. There's maybe they are masculine at the core, but they don't know how to access it. They have feminine layers around them. All of the above, right?
one thing I want to make clear is I I have my feminine energy within me without a doubt. I have a lot of it that I am able to access. I'm very grateful for it. I don't try to kill my inner feminine. I think that's one of the big mistakes that our society teaches boys, is to kill off their inner feminine. And where we all have masculine and feminine energies within us,
Yes.
we have these incredible powers of, that exist in the universe. What me was, I had disconnected from my masculine, that there was this whole segment that I didn't have access to.
Yes.
Compensating with my feminine, but not necessarily because it was what truly served me or those around me best. And so, and to make peace with their feminine, and also to make peace with their masculine, to be able to connect deeply to their core masculine essence. But in the process, it doesn't mean, okay, now I have to hate and shut off and push this.
No, no, and that was not what I was insinuating at all. Yeah, and so I imagine that some of your typical clients are men who also had their masculine cut off. Would that be true?
I have had that.
Yeah.
Without doubt. But I've also worked with those who, in the business world, their masculine's fully on. They're very decisive, directive, maybe even ruthless.
Yes, yes.
But they know how to make things happen without a doubt.
Yes.
Somehow, a number of those I've worked with, somehow though, when it comes to their relating with women, it's like, no, take all of my power.
Yes, 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 yes.
Suddenly they disempower themselves entirely, go into a placating, a pleasing mode, etc. And I think I certainly had this experience as well in my past. And while short term sometimes it can be useful, it almost always ends up backfiring. And I don't just mean that it ends up back for him. Ultimately, more times than not, it's not what she really wants either.
Right, right, yes. So since we only have a few minutes left on this interview, and perhaps we'll do more, but for now, would you give a few tips for men that are listening? Like
Sure.
a few tips for men that are listening that feel kind of lost or cut off, or yeah, lost in the arena of men-woman dynamics.
Number one, remember that you are powerful. That you have a latent power within you, that no matter how much you have access to it, it's nothing compared to what you are truly capable of. With women, with your work in the world, just with who and how you show up in the world. Say yes to this inner power. Say yes to it. Even practicing, I am a powerful man, till you can feel it in your body. Number one. Number two, realize that statement, that knowing of your power, is not about power over somebody else. It's not about having your power over women. When you are truly in your power, there's nothing to prove. And there's those who are trying to prove their power by making other people feel small are not powerful individuals. Those who are power know it. And when you know it, all you want is to help other people rise along with you. Being a powerful man is to help empower the women around you, to help them feel more in connected to their feminine power rather than less, so that you can feel powerful over them.
Great. Yes.
Serve the women around you, but do so from your place of solidity and knowing who you are.
So we have to stop. Thank you very much for sharing your journey, sharing your wisdom, and I hope there will be more to come. And this was Private Matters. I'm Max van Praag. See you next time.
Thank you, Max.
Yes.
Si vos escrevem, não está a escrever. Se vos esquecer, não está a esquecer. Até o dia que vou voltar. Se vos escrever, não está a escrever. Se vos esquecer, não está a esquecer. Até o dia que vou voltar.